you will start to wake up. You will start to wake up from the meaning crisis.
Okay, thank you for that. It was exactly what I was going for, the symptoms medley, and this kind of short list of practices that everyone can do to actually start to awaken. And now you've mentioned for the first time awaken from the meaning crisis, which is also name of your lectures on YouTube. One of the things where can people get the kind of practices and information about it is your Discord channel, actually, which is going to be link to it is going to be in the description of the podcast. Which is great. There are circling practices. People are there talking about these topics, and it's really a lively place to be and to actually get some insight and wisdom and actually train all these things. So thank you for creating that. You are there as well, and you have also every week practice of meditation for a few minutes, and then you do Q&A and kind of a cultivation of wisdom. So that's also great. I've been to some of those, and it's been a great experience every time. So there's going to be a link to your YouTube channel as well.
Great.
And now I would like to go actually into some of the detail of awakening from the meaning crisis, how to awaken. And maybe could you start by something you already mentioned, and it was the lost ways of knowing, other ways of knowing rather than propositional, saying names and facts and remembering those, but also maybe living them, as we were talking about. That's part of really important thing that we should do, not only talk about it, but also live them.
Well, thank you. I mean, the series has two parts to it. And I think this is how I also think you should do great. Well, I'm not saying it was great, but I'm saying to my model, very good science combines history and science together when you're trying to understand a phenomena. Because I think of phenomena as dynamical systems. And when you're studying a dynamical system, its history and its functionality are completely interwoven. You can't separate one from the other. So the first half of the series is a historical argument. How did we get here? And then the second is the historical side. And then the second is the scientific, the functioning side. And it's interesting because that history, in the history, you can see the loss of the other kinds of knowing and the rise to sort of an abstraction and almost tyranny of propositional knowing as being completely identified with all kinds of knowing. And then what the cognitive science has been doing is restoring us, helping us to remember what these other kinds of knowing are. So the kind we're familiar with is because it's so enmeshed with language and scientific theory, it's propositional knowing. This is you know things by having beliefs, hopefully that are well justified, well argued, and well evidenced about propositions. Like, I believe that cats are mammals. There we go. That's propositional knowing. I believe that, and here's a proposition: cats are mammals. And if it's working, if it's putting me in touch with reality, then it's true. I have a sense of conviction that it's true, right? And we try and enhance that sense of conviction when we try to justify our claims through science and etc. And that has a particular kind of memory associated with it, namely semantic memory. So I just called on it. I have this memory that cats are mammals. There isn't a point in my life that points back to, yes, I remember. It was on June 22nd, right? That cats are mammals. That was right? It's not an event, that it's a semantic thing. Like, Africa is a continent, right? And even if you did remember the episode, that episode is irrelevant to the memory. So, right now, you also have a different kind of knowing. You have procedural knowing, which is knowing how to do something. This is your ability to coordinate very complex, multiple simultaneous variables in your sensory motor interaction with the world. Like when I catch a ball, or I ride a bike, or I'm sparring with somebody in Tai Chi, I know how to do it. And there, the end result isn't a theory. The end result is a skill. And skills put me in touch with reality, not by giving me a sense of conviction, like that's true. I don't even know what that would be like in martial arts. What I get is a sense of power. Right, power, right? And we now know, in fact, that you have a different kind of memory associated with this. It's called procedural memory. And you can lose your semantic memory or large parts of it, and your procedural memory will be completely untouched. Like, think about people who, some people will have dramatic amnesia, or they'll get brain damage and they lose their semantic memory, but they'll remember how to play the piano or to walk around the room, right? So I'm going to do that for each one of you. For each one of them, I'm going to show you what it does, how it works, what its normative standards are, and the kind of memory associated with it. Okay, now, if I'm going to apply a skill, what do I need? Let's go both ways. If I'm going to apply a skill or acquire a skill, what do I need? Well, I need to know what's called situational awareness, right? And that has to do with my perspective on a situation, what I'm foregrounding, what I'm backgrounding, what I'm considering important, what I'm treating as important, what I'm treating as irrelevant. Like the wall behind you is not in your perspective right now until I mentioned it to you, right? So you're doing what I call salience landscaping. Various things are standing out, and these two things are interdefining. You have a state of mind and a salience landscape, and they're mutually interdefining. So if you were drunk, you'd have a different salience landscape. Or if I dramatically change your salience landscape, it'll put you into a different state of mind. And think about how that happens even when you shift from one emotion to another. If you suddenly got angry, your state of mind would change, and correspondingly your salience landscape would change. So that's what I mean by perspectival knowing. It's your sense of here, nowness, salience, and state of mind, all coordinated together with this wonderful metaphor of a perspective. And so you know what it is like to be you here now in this state of mind. It's happening right now. And of course, that overlaps a lot with consciousness and working memory. Now, what's the sense of realness there? It's not so much power, because you're not really doing anything. And it's not so much conviction of truth, because you're not claiming anything. What is it? Well, interestingly enough, video games give us a really good place to study that, because what people are looking for is what they call a sense of presence, a sense of really being in the game, really here and now. So I've been doing a lot of work with Dan Chiappi about scientists moving the rovers around on Mars and how they get the sense of being on Mars, even though they're on Earth, right? And really studying that. So, and do we have a form of memory associated with perspectival knowing? You bet. I mentioned it earlier. Episodic memory. You remember scenes. What's a scene? It's a here now, right? Perspective on a particular situation. I remember what it was like to be there then, in that state of mind. That's your episodic memory. Now below it, and this is the one that's most difficult for people to access, is the one that makes all the other ones possible, which is participatory knowing. And participatory knowing is the way in which biological evolution, cultural evolution, and your own ongoing neurological evolution fit you and the world together. Create what are called affordances. This object is graspable by me, right? Biological evolution, right, has shaped me to grasp objects of a certain shape, right? But right, cultural evolution has given me the practice of talking on the phone, right? And the technology has shaped the environment and me. So this mutual shaping of environment and organism, biological, cultural, cognitive, creates affordances. It gives you your fundamental sense of belonging, that you're at home in the world. It's your participatory knowing. And it doesn't result in a theory or a skill or even a perspective. It results in all of what you're doing right now, all the identifications that are happening. You're assuming an identity and you're assigning identity. All these identities are just springing up around you, because affordances are basically nexus points. Identities are basically nexus points within affordances, an affordance network, you know? And so do you have a kind of memory that's associated with that? Yeah, but you don't even recognize it as memory. It's that deep. It's your sense of self. That's yourself. That's, right, that's the memory that I'm talking about. And we know that that can be damaged or fractured. And it seems to have specific areas in the brain where it's also operating. Now, those the three lower P's, because I think of them as below propositional, the procedural, the perspectival, and the participatory. That's where most of your relevance realization is going on. And to the degree to which you're cut off from it is the degree to which it's operating, but it's operating for you in a disconnected and fragmented way.
I've when I was listening to lectures, I've written sort of a pyramid of those types of knowing. It feels like that, as you said, on the bottom there is the participatory, then there is the perspectival, then there is the procedural, and then there is the propositional at the top. And it's the smallest part, the propositional. But it feels like our culture, it switched the participatory with the proposition, and it made the base of the pyramid out of the propositions.
Yes, it's tried to do that. It's tried with, and that can't work because the propositional knowledge is deeply presupposes and deeply dependent on the procedural knowledge. So like you're ordering propositions here to me, and of course the propositional knowing is making inference about the implication relations between those propositions. But notice that depends on your procedural abilities of carrying out a conversation, and of conveying information beyond everything you're saying, and of coordinating like you're doing right now. You're nodding with previous speech acts that you've made, and how you're actually adjusting so you have all these skills. Well, what's activating the skills in the right? Your sense of the situation, and how you're present in it, and the degree to which you feel I'm present or absent or not into it. And then what's underneath that? Well, all of the affordances that are opened up by the fact that we're all biologically human beings. We're all Homo sapiens, and that means we're fitted to each other in profound ways, and all kinds of affordances. Notice that you're looking largely at my face and not at my shoulder. Who taught you to do that? Okay? The babies come, like I can draw a circle with 3 dots in it, and babies will stare at it because it's like a face. Okay, that's what I mean. All of that upper level stuff is complete, and that of course makes evolutionary sense. Creatures that could use language and work in propositional space, in logical, that's very recent. It's us. But we didn't big bang out of nothing. There's literally hundreds of millions of years of evolution that have made that upper level of the pyramid possible for us. Yeah, and so we're trying to live almost this inverted life. Notice, I like what you said about how we've conflated the propositional with the participatory. It's like we identify with our beliefs, that I am my beliefs, and that, and notice how we've even turned the idea of religion, which religio originally meant to connect. We've turned that, oh, well, religion is a system of beliefs. No, it's not. In fact, most cultures don't even have a separate word for religion. They don't have a separate concept. Being a meaning-making cultural thing and using rituals to tap the procedural and all that, that's just part of being a human being for them. But we've over-identified with, I call it the monological mind. We have a cognitive monoculture, and each one of us are just little monologues in that monoculture, and all we're doing is running around speaking, and that's all in who and what we are. And one of the dangers that we're facing is ideologies really tap into that and exacerbate that. You are just what you believe, and all that matters about you is having the right beliefs. And I frankly think that's bullshit. Do your beliefs matter? Of course they do. But you know what also matters? Your skills, your state of mind, all of your biological and cultural and cognitive processes that create your sense of self and identity, both individually and collectively. All of that is being ignored at the ideological level.